Hello everyone, this is Angel Soriano. Welcome to this segment of Ask the DogMan on Facebook Live. It seems like I've said that already, so I don't know if we're on or not. So we'll find out here quickly enough. So we're excited today due to the fact that we will be talking about a topic that is really close to my heart, folks. And we hear it every day here at the U. Okay, so I'm going to leave you in suspense a little bit, because I want to cover a couple other things. So if you're new to the show, first of all, this is a show where we offer solutions to your canine behaviors and training questions, and we do this live, right? So it's kind of cool. Why we do it live? Because we like the excitement of a live show where anything can go wrong, and typically it does. So we're shooting outside today simply because we're tired of shooting inside. And then we realized earlier as we were setting up that there was all sorts of birds chirping, et cetera, et cetera. So for those who are bird lovers, you may be able to tell who's in the background, talking to us. I certainly can't. So before we start, let me explain how you can engage us here. Just add your questions in the comments section of this posting, and we'll attempt to answer them. We'll do it either in writing later on at the end of the show if we miss it altogether, or we'll do it live as we're doing the show here, okay? So for now, tell us, you can see us, you can hear us, comment, do something, give us a thumbs up. That'll let James feel easier about the fact that we're actually out there, talking and you guys can hear us. Otherwise, he gets all stressed out. So we don't want James stressed out. So before we start, I have one housekeeping item to discuss that's important. We are going to be changing the time and the day of the show starting next week. Okay, we kind of mentioned this during the last show that we were going to be doing this. We didn't know when. We had to study it. So here's what we're attempting to do. We will be testing the morning time slot, the AM time slot on Wednesday. So the next show is going to be on May 30th. I'll repeat this later on. It's going to be on May 30th, which is a Wednesday at 7:30 in the morning. Okay, so let me tell you how to work this. Okay, we're going to treat this as a podcast. It's going to be on Facebook, but what I'd like you to do is just turn it on in the morning at 7:30 and listen to us while you're brushing your teeth, while you're getting ready. Or if you're already in the car, just put the phone on the seat and listen to it. There's nothing to watch. I mean, look at this mug here. Why would you want to watch this? So listen to what we have to say. That's where the value comes in, and we'll try that for a while and see how that works, okay? And the intent here is to be able to get to different people. If you have a different time slot that you like better, then go ahead and post it on there and let us know. That's the bottom line, basically. So if you're driving, listening to this show next week, Wednesday, and you have a question, then don't type on your phone, for crying out loud, okay? Just get to work, then type it in, and if the show's over, no big deal. We'll go ahead and answer the question anyway, or we'll do it live during the next show. So either way, it all depends on whether or not this is a good question or not. So anyway, that's all I have, I think. James?
I've already got 2 questions.
You have 2 questions. Well, before we even get started, go ahead and give me those questions, please.
Well, one of them will kind of tune into what we were going to talk about earlier. Is
okay.
From Martha. Wants to know what the right age would be to start walking her dog in public places outside. He's 6 months old now.
Got it. Okay. That's a really good question, Martha. So my typical answer is, if you're going to public places, boy, that was a full mouth, then I would recommend that your dog has all the shots, first of all, okay? So some veterinarians will do it earlier than others, but I would imagine for the most part, by the time the dog turns about 4 or 5 months of age, they usually have them all. They may not have rabies, but I would wait for that one as well. So have your dog fully vaccinated. It's fully protected. And if you're going to be taking them to play groups and the likes, I would also ask to do Bordetella. And that's your kennel cough, and that's in case another dog comes up with something, at least your dog is protected. So that's a really good question. 6 months is old enough. You should have all the shots already done. So very, very good. Let me do this little deal before the next question, James. So James, we talked earlier about this. I really wanted to open our dialogue today and talk about the human order in the pack. Right? We have dogs, and for everybody out there, no matter how many dogs you have in the house, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't matter. If you have cats, if you have birds, if you have humans, kids, the dog looks at that whole pack, right, as their pack, their family. We call it family. The dog kind of thinks in a pack mentality. So we have to properly establish that pack for all of us to be happy campers, right? So that's what I wanted to talk about. What do you think, James?
Sounds great.
as he's drinking some water. So meanwhile, all of you at home, if you have something to say about this, see, that's why we like this live show. I didn't set them up. I just wasn't looking at them. So meanwhile, everybody at home, if you have a question, a suggestion, or if any of this kind of resonates with you as we're talking about it, go ahead and pop it in, and we'll go ahead and get to it. We do know that we have at least 1 or 2 questions waiting for us and 1 or 2 emails waiting for us, so we'll get to those here in a minute. So James, let me first state that there's a following out there that you and I have kind of observed over the years, and that is that there's a bunch of people out there, and it's been started by some people calling themselves trainers, that really believe that domestic dogs do not follow the conventional pack order theory, right? And this is primarily because the dogs that maybe they're exposed to are soft in nature, and they just don't see this, and they're not exposed to it, but that's not necessarily the case. Okay, so I wanted to first put that to sleep, that from my experience, and I've been doing this for 30 plus years, look, without a doubt, there's a pack order. It's just that, yes, there are some domestic dogs that are probably not going to show it as much because they're soft, right? And they have no need for it. And some of it has been bred out to some level, but they still have that order, and we see it very strongly in working dogs, right? So anyway, what are some of your thoughts, James, on this? Because I want to make sure people hear it.
No, I see that a lot in a lot of my evals. Very frequently we talk with clients that are struggling, either an alpha struggle with themselves or with other dogs in their household. All that to say, it is not always prevalent in all dogs.
Right.
But nonetheless, there is always some genetic tendencies to follow a particular order, and some dogs, actually most domesticated pets, are submissive enough to where you don't outwardly see issues.
Yeah.
Anytime you're dealing with a working caliber breed of dog, there's always the chance of having those alpha type struggles. And kind of to reiterate to Martha, starting the training young helps solidify that pack order within the household. Waiting until the dog is 2 or 3 years old, it's a lot more difficult to establish yourself. And plus, you're dealing with now a big dog that's maybe willing to reprimand you, whereas when you're dealing with a puppy, it's a little easier to control.
Yep. No, that's a really good point. And you're touching on reprimanding, which, by the way, that happens more often than not. And James is right. It happens typically with protective breeds, defensive breeds, German Shepherds and Rottweilers. Not to pick on these, by the way. I own a German Shepherd. Boxers can be strong breeds. If it's a protective breed, sometimes they have this in them. And the reprimanding he is alluding to is the dog that will actually either nip or growl or bark in a negative fashion. We're not talking play bark. In a negative fashion towards a member of the family, mom or dad or the kids. And that's simply because that dog has lost respect for that person, and they truly believe they're above them. Right? So if you have mom and dad and kids, the dog will place itself somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, it's best to just look at your dog that's displaying this behavior, that your dog is looking at you as another dog in the pack.
Correct. Correct.
So establishing your order within the pack, whether you're human or another dog, is extremely important to prevent these types of assaults.
Yep. Very good. Let's go to that question if you like.
Yep. So Goose Clark, he's asking, how do you stop your dog from grabbing items off the counter, tables, and running around with them? She thinks it's a game.
Yeah. So do I. I think it's kind of funny. It's not my dog doing it. So, yes, your dog most likely thinks it's a game and is having a blast, okay? So, my input on that is you need to have a foundation. First of all, the dog needs to understand when you mean no, when you mean, yes, basically. You have to have some communication lines open. So, if the dog doesn't have obedience behind it, good time to get involved with it. And the reason is, no command you do and nothing you do with a dog, no matter what it is you're trying to teach him, is going to really stick if this dog doesn't understand the basics of learning, right? So get some obedience behind it. Now, let's assume, and I'll assume that your dog has obedience, and, it's got your basic 5 commands, and the dog does it, and for the most part, it's a pretty good dog, okay? But just does this. Then what you need to do is introduce a command: off, stop, leave it, whatever. Something that you use that is unique, and only use it for that purpose. Don't confuse the dog with a bunch of other words. Typically what happens as humans is we say, stop it, enough, leave it, I've had it with you, and then you start having conversations with your dog, and the dog is thoroughly confused, and if anything, they think you're having a blast and playing, and so don't. Just have a single command that means it. You have to deliver it not in a high pitch. You have to deliver it like you mean it. You got to have your mommy voice, your daddy voice. You got to use this voice that means knock it off. Okay? Now, 2, you need to be able to interrupt it. Now, if this dog is just doing it way in advance and you cannot touch him and cannot catch him and this and that, then I would do a few little setups. You may want to, put something on the counter that you know he's going to go after. And then, set him up somehow either with a long lead or set him up by being near it. So as he is beginning to sniff, you can say those words. Right? The idea is don't try to interrupt it when it's too late and he has it and he's running. That's not an interruption. Now it's a game. Right? Because what happens is you're going to start chasing him. That is a game. So don't chase, don't do any of that. Set him up, put whatever it is that you think he's going to go for, and be on the lookout. Keep watching. The minute he starts sniffing it, even the head moving in that direction, you say your command like you mean it, and you can even stump over in that direction, and you let him know the what's, the what for, or don't you dare touch that, right? The point is get in their face, but do it early enough so you have an impact. Now, what's going to happen? You've done nothing more than interrupted the situation. You did not teach it a lesson yet. The lesson will start when you start praising your dog for not having done that. So the dog now got interrupted. He may say, holy mackerel, mom, dad is upset, and they're going to walk away, or they're going to get off the counter while looking at you a little bit confused. You're going to wait 3 to 4 seconds of this massive confusion, and at that point you will start your praising, right? So, and what I mean by praising, you're going to say the words, good, leave it, or good, off. Whatever command you used, whatever your harsh words you used earlier, you're going to put good in front of it. You're going to smile, because you will sound different, by the way. So, do this repeatedly, but you're going to have to set up your dog so they understand what is going on. Now, back to the beginning, if the dog truly does not understand any of these commands, it simply means that he may be lacking some real basic fundamentals when it comes to obedience. And that's easy to drop on them. Just get involved and do it, right? So,
one thing.
Good luck.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
One thing that I'll add to that kind of branches into this alpha discussion we were having today is you talked a lot in that about the tone of your voice given the commands. And the premise behind that is when you give that firm command, you're not yelling at your dog. It's just a tone change. Right. And it's very similar to pack behavior, that when the alpha of the pack means business, it's a low growl, it's a low bark. Yep. When the alpha of the pack wants to reward or initiate play, it's a high-pitched bark. Yep. It's excellent. Excellent point. So there's a lot to be said about the tone of your voice. It's not angry. It's not yelling. It's just the tone of your voice controls your dog in that pack-like setting. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, even to add more to it, dogs spend all their life, really checking you out, just studying their human pack. Their whole life. They have nothing else to do, right? So whatever you're doing, they're studying. So they get to know your body language. So go change the subject right now and go to the kids. Do your kids know when that tone comes out of your mouth? Right? They're jumping in the bed, and you say once or twice, stop it. And you finally, even that look, and they go, whoops, they get off the bed, right? So this is what we're trying to say about this. Dogs will learn your body language. They will learn your tone, habit. The dog needs to understand it. And when they do, that changes. So it does delve right into this alpha struggle situation. So very good. I have another one here.
Great.
Hunter has a German Shepherd that seems to be extremely intelligent.
Usually
likes to jump on the doors and open them while they're not home, which allows not only the scratching on the doors, but into off-limits areas. Any advice on how to stop this behavior?
Yeah, it was it's complicated. Okay, the answer is yes, it can be interrupted, but it's complicated. And the reason is there's a good likelihood that this dog is only doing it when you're not there. Because normally we would say, okay, similar to the earlier coaching, let's try to set up the dog so they understand it, et cetera, et cetera. But Smart dogs typically will do this when no one is watching, meaning when you're gone, when you leave. There are things you could do in that you can teach the dog to have a perimeter around any door that you wanted to keep them off. It's going to take time to teach that perimeter distance. Like you can say, hey, you cannot touch my doors, 2 feet away, 1 foot away. And you can teach them to do this. The question is, how effective will it be while you're not there? I'm sure they're going to push their limits. Certainly just, the scratching on the doors is a different issue, but certainly keeping them off areas that they shouldn't be in, and you could lock them. You can put different locks on the doors that they cannot open, right? Nice and high, et cetera, et cetera. But that doesn't stop them from scratching and destroying your doors if he wants to get out. Now, the other side of this discussion, by the way, might be, is there a touch of anxiety? Right? And I don't know, because you didn't touch on that, but is this dog really escaping where he's at because he wants to be with other family members, with other dogs, with a cat? Sometimes they have a relationship with a cat. What's the reason for him escaping out of these areas that are confining him, right? You may be confining him to the bedroom and he really wants to have a bigger area. You may want to investigate or have somebody talk to you about whether or not this is an anxiety issue, because if that is the case, you treat the anxiety and the problem is gone, right? Interesting enough. If it's just a smart dog that really just wants to wander and get out, well, that could be dangerous too, because what if he opens up the front door, right? So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I would love to talk to you live on this, by the way. They're tough to fix because intelligent dogs will test you every day. They just keep coming up with new ideas. What do you think, James?
No, that's complete. I wouldn't add anything else to that. It's really something that, one is going to require some supervision and then a lot of consistent follow through.
Yeah. Yep. Good luck with it. So let's talk about alpha struggles. We were touching on that earlier, James. I want to talk some more. So I've had a number of clients over the years, and it's hard to put your finger as to how many, because we see it every week in our evaluations and our process. We see it, right? And you see it, you can continue to see it, and that is the fact that we overhumanize our dogs, and it puts them in a winning position, right? And what I mean by overhumanizing is that you end up promoting this animal in your house, this dog, who's your family member, by the way. I got 2 of them. I love them both. However, most people end up promoting them, by allowing things that should not be going on, and they end up doing this overhumanization. And before you know it, you end up with a dog, especially if it's a defensive breed, or if it's a powerful breed, I'll call it that. And there's a number of them, okay? And they'll end up taking over the household or taking over a certain person, okay? And we had, there was one of our clients that has a dog. I won't say the breed because I don't want to single her out. And this dog, by the way, this is a passive breed. It's just that it's a hunting dog. Anyway, this dog has put the bluff on one of the kids in the family. The rest of the family is fine with him, but he has put the bluff on one of them. What I mean by that is this dog will nip and will bark and growl at this one member of the family, which is a child, right? So most people would say, that's not acceptable, et cetera, et cetera. That's true, right? That should not be acceptable. But everybody else in the family is fine with this dog, interesting enough, right? So there's a reason for that. This dog has promoted himself above this kid. So it's the kind of stuff that we need to work on, right? We see this so much. We call it alpha struggle. That's what it is. And that's a struggle between the dog and the placement of that pack. And it happens so much that was part of the reason why we wanted to talk about this. So, by the way, we also see some of that within the pack as far as the dogs. A different issue. Most people dismiss it because it's just the dogs having a tiff. But typically we see alpha struggles between animals, right? You'll see 2, 3 dogs in a pack, and every now and then there'll be a scuffle somewhere. Well, that's because one of them was trying to promote himself, and the real alpha dog said that's not happening. And again, there's an exchange, and there's reestablishing in. Whenever you have dogs that just will not stop it and they continue to fight, it's because those 2 are really close to the same alpha level. And they will continue to argue until one of them decides to give it up. And sometimes they're so strong they don't. So at that point, you'll need professional help. That can be fixed, but you'll need professional help. Don't just let them fight it out. There's a lot of people out there that says, just let them sort it out. You'll end up with a lot of stitches and a lot of vet bills when you do that kind of stuff. So let's see. Let's talk a little bit also about food aggression. Or do you have a question, James? Or?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Okay, yeah. No, let's do that. I can go to food aggression in a minute.
trying to find the one here.
You lost it.
So Sherry asks, what is the best way to get her former bait dog back into balance? I assume she's trying to re-socialize a mistreated dog here.
Okay.
He's come a long way, but still unsure of himself.
Okay. Another tough road. These are good questions, by the way. We normally get regular questions. These are all tough. So that's a long road, okay, first of all. So let me go back to the beginning. What is a bait dog? A true bait dog is a dog that's been used in dog fighting rings, very big in our state, okay? I hate saying that, but it's really big in the Midwest. Illegal as all heck, but it's still really big in our states, unfortunately. So yes, we have a lot of bait dogs out there that are being placed in homes to try to help them along. So if this is truly one of those, you have a long road. The question is, do you know that for a fact? And I want to make sure I go back to that. Is there scarring to show that, hey, this dog has had a long road, or is it something somebody told you, or do you know the background of this animal? Anyway, you don't need to answer any of that. It's just questions that I need to put in your head. Typically, bait dogs come severely scarred physically, which causes mental scars as well. So let me assume that's the case, right? I'll assume that you know exactly what you're talking about, and you have knowledge of this, either from watching this dog and the scars that he came with or she came with, or somebody gave you the background on this dog, and it's a legitimate fighting dog. So the best way to do this is step by step. Typically, again, you want to talk to a professional that will help you with this, but you want to go step by step. You don't want to reintroduce them too quickly. Typically, dogs like this will have dog aggression. They will show it in public. They will show it on lead. They will show it off lead. This is a dog that had to defend itself every time they threw it in a ring. It's lucky that this dog is still alive, because typically dogs of this nature end up dying in the hands of another stronger dog that was being trained for this. So all that said, this dog most likely was abused by a bunch of other dogs. So there will be dog aggression. Now, how do you get on it? Again, find professional help. We do this all the time, so we'd love to help you out. The interesting part, though, is that you need to start socializing this dog after, not now, but after this dog understands that you, the ultimate leader of your pack, does not welcome those sort of assaults and attacks on other dogs. Okay, you do all this on leash. Every time the dog tries to do it, we try to interrupt it, start teaching the dog a different method and a different way to display their issues. Okay, so aggression is coming out of history, right? This dog has had a lot of history doing this. So because of it, then we must interrupt it. When the dog does, we must compliment it, or we must reward it. And then once we do this a lot of times and the dog's beginning to pick up on the fact that you, the ultimate leader, does not like this, right? And by the way, they always want to make you happy. So if this dog starts picking up on the fact that you are unhappy every time he displays this anger, this barking, this growling, this assaulting, and they'll tone it down. It doesn't mean that he likes dogs. It just means he's not going to demonstrate it in front of you, right? So at that point is when we start the socializing phase of the program. Not any sooner, right? The problem in doing it too soon, and everybody coaches this incorrectly. They say, oh yeah, well, just introduce him to other dogs. Well, heck, every time he was introduced to a dog, he got whooped, right? So why would you want to do that? So he's going to react every time he sees a dog, and that means he had another air fight, if you may, or air growl. So don't do that. Knock it off. Let's start a program where you interrupt the behavior and get to the point where he is pleasing you. Not loving dogs, just pleasing you. The minute we get there, then we start introducing good, safe, wonderful dogs that are not going to do anything, and we do it at a distance, at 20 feet and 10 feet, 8 foot, 1 foot, and before you know it, they're going to have a buddy that they play with. Isn't that great? And then you introduce a second buddy and a third buddy, and before you know it, they do actually come around. Not all of them, but it all depends on the severity of the assaults that this dog had over the years. So anyway, good luck, and I'm really happy that you're doing this, by the way. Not too many people are willing to take on a challenge of this nature. That's kind of a cool story, by the way, all by itself. So, okay. So, back to the aggression towards certain pack members. As I was using that example earlier with this one family, the dog needs to be reestablished, right? We need to, how do we do that, by the way? Normally we do this by promoting, the family member and demoting the dog. The easiest way to do this is some strict obedience. If you're looking for like the fix-all for a alpha struggle, we repeat ourselves quite often around here. The tell-all is, hey, jump on this dog, you know what I mean physically, I mean in obedience, and get on top of his obedience in a strict fashion. Strict doesn't mean pain or suffering. It just means when you tell him to do something, he has to do it. Right? If he doesn't do it, you show him. You make him do it. And when he does, you love him for it. You become a strict but loving owner, basically, leader. The motions go a long way with these dogs. So do it, and you'll have a much happier life. So anyway, I think we're getting close to closing, aren't we? Got it. So there you have it, folks. Thank you for tuning in to our Ask the Dogman show today. We appreciate all of you being here. It's kind of cool. We did it outside. We may do more of those, by the way. We'll probably start going on location now. By the way, if we miss one of your questions, or if it comes in later, we'll either post a response online, or we'll make sure that we cover it during the next show. And then again, just know that we're going to be back next week, not 2 weeks, but we're coming back next week on Wednesday, 7:30 in the morning. It's going to be a podcast type of deal. I mean, you'll have the video, but I don't want you watching video while you're driving. So, but we're kind of excited about that too. It's a different time frame for us. So look, all we ask when you watch these things is to share it, like us, give us a thumbs up. You know, we just love that kind of stuff. That's the only reason we're doing this. So again, this is Angel Soriano, aka Dogman, barking back at you. You asked, we answered. If you like this video, please help us out by subscribing to our YouTube channel. We also appreciate your comments if you have them. Remember, there are 3 ways of keeping in touch with us. 1, you can email us at dogman@mycanineu.com. 2, you can sign up to our email list at mycanineu.com/Ask the Dogman. And 3, you can subscribe to this channel by hitting the subscribe button. You can find all of this information in the comments section below. Thank you.